Hey everyone, a topic is coming that seems to be different compared to my previous videos, but I think you will all understand how are the two topics related to each other. Burnout syndrome as a nurse or as a hospital worker, that's gonna be the topic. I am a hospital worker almost 10 years ago, but I started my work as a healthcare administrator. Then I become an assistant and now I am a nurse practitioner. I will finish my 3-year studies this May, this summer. I will be a nurse officially, finally. I will tell you the honest truth about burnout syndrome. I actually had it before I knew the word burnout syndrome. I didn't even know that it was existing. I didn't know others are going through the same situation as I was. I just felt like I had to change the department where I worked from time to time in the hospital because that was the only way I could keep my mental health on a good level, or at least on an acceptable level, I would say. Facing with the same problems every day, with the same situations every day, even if you might have a possible solution for a problem, you are probably not in the position to share your solution or your opinion, and that is causing burnout syndrome in healthcare workers very often. When it comes to me, I always knew all my life that I wanted to be a hospital worker or a healthcare worker. It was coming from my childhood burning accident when 35% of my body was burned. Third and second degree burnings were covering my body, and I was bedridden for 3 weeks. So I had the feeling of being alone, and I cannot trust in adults. As a child, it's a very painful experience. There was one single nurse who, however, treated me very well. She was very caring, and she realized that I was just a 6-year-old kid. I had enormous amount of pain, and she understood that every time they came into the room and they did something painful with my body, I didn't kick and yell because I wanted to make their job more and more difficult, but because of the fact that I've had pain and I was scared. Whenever she leaned towards me, I've seen her full name on her badge, and I never read that badge because I feel uncomfortable people memorizing my full name, but I've seen her badge and I remember her name. I searched on her name out of curiosity after working years in our hospital, and I was surprised that she is still working in our hospital in another department than she used to. And I approached her with a message that her behavior was the reason why I wanted to be a hospital worker, and that was the motivation behind my everyday working habits, to kind of give it back to people, give back that love and caring and normal patient-oriented care that they needed. She was very surprised and happy that I remembered her. She didn't really remember me for the first time, but then later on, as we started talking, she started to remember where my bed was, and she remembered that my mother was a teacher and minor details like that. And so we both made a positive impact on each other by giving motivation to each other and positive feelings. Returning back to my child, when I first brought her to psychologist, they told me that most kids who are having mental health issues are coming from parents who are also struggling with mental health issues. I was not uncomfortable with that at all because I already knew uh, it of myself that I had PTSD. My PTSD was always treated by a specialist with bigger or smaller breaks, but technically was always treated. My parents always took me to therapy because they saw what my problem was, and PTSD and this whole hospitalization experience not only gave me negative things but also gave me the needs in my work and my work morals, if you understand that. I needed to help people the same way how I got help when I was hospitalized, and that was my basic motivation generally. Even though I struggled with social phobia and eating disorder and panic attacks sometimes and generalized anxiety, I couldn't go. I could go, but it was difficult for me to go to shops or places where there were a lot of people around. I've had these negative things in my life, also originated from my hospitalization, but I also learned a lot and grew a lot with it. Yeah, I was aware of my own mental health issues, so it didn't hit me on the head that my child was more likely to develop something than other children whose parents are healthy. I don't consider myself as an ill person, but well, yeah, that's what they told me, and I didn't take it as an offense. Unfortunately, my bigger family was also an environment where I felt uncomfortable. I couldn't express my feelings. We never talked honestly about our feelings. Nobody cared. And I felt alienated and lonely in this whole family. My parents were very, very open-minded when it came to my problems, and I could talk to them honestly, even if they didn't understand or they were sometimes shocked by the level of my anxiety and stress, and they couldn't help me. They were just listening. Even though they were only listening to me, it was a very, very big help. I'm very thankful for them. And because they saw that they cannot deal with this whole thing, they always took me to different therapies to give me the chance to heal from it. They didn't want me to be a nurse. They are all my family. They are qualified people, very well qualified. teachers, lawyers, doctors, these kind of people. So they didn't want me to work something as average as a nurse's work. They asked me to go to university because I've had good grades into a field which they thought will be profitable for me, and I will fit there and find my place there, and I will work in it. That's what they wanted, and I did attend this university, and I've graduated and got my diploma. But I knew that I want to work in a hospital. That was my only goal. So today they are also very supportive. I started nursing school when I was over 30, and they helped me to babysit my kid so I could attend to my nursing school classes. That's how they helped me. And so I started to work in the hospital in the department of pathology, which may seem disturbing, but that's how I started. And this was the most interesting place I've ever worked. I could see all the range of illnesses. I could see outstanding cases, rare cases, basically everything that you can see in a healthcare institutions. I worked with brilliant doctors, very, very bright, humble doctors. They saw I was curious, and I've learned a lot from them. Basically 90% of my medical knowledge and as well as the Latin language knowledge are originated from writing down the autopsy reports, working with these doctors, and I felt lucky to have the ability to work there, and I still feel lucky. And it was a special atmosphere. Not everyone can go there, and I've also learned communication because I've had to deal with not only with the administration part, but also with the family of the deceased ones. So I've learned a lot and developed a lot of skills. And after 3 years of work, I felt this huge pressure on myself. Burnout syndrome symptoms, but I didn't know it at that time. I just felt like I wanted to switch to another place. I don't care where it will be. I just have to go. And this was mainly because my colleagues turned against me because I expressed my wish to study in medical field, and they didn't like the idea. So one day I called my boss and I told her that I was requesting to go to somewhere else. I don't care which department it will be. The only thing I cared about was to put me somewhere else. And she said, all right, she's gonna do it. I stay at the hospital, so I don't have to worry about anything. I am still a worker and I will remain. And I didn't ask where will I go because I didn't care at that point. I was so deep down, and I knew that hospital is my home, this hospital, and wherever I will work, I will be able to manage with it. And I started my work a month after that at the Department of Oncology, which is a very difficult place to work at, but that's what they found for me, from one difficult place to another. And I started my work as an assistant of one single oncologist, and my job was to deal with her patients and do all the administrative care around her. She was an extremely intelligent person, very patient oriented, and always up to date when it came to the most modern protocols of cancer treatment. So I felt again very lucky to have the ability and option to work there. It was easy to work with her. She was friendly, always approachable, and we are friends even today, which means so much for me. I think that that's the best part of that 3 years that I worked there, our friendship. I can rely her help anytime in any situations. You might think now that I only gave myself 3 years everywhere, but that was just a coincidence. I always moved on when my burnout symptoms reached their top level. I always tried to stay at one place, but I just couldn't stay. And I realized how false that belief around chemotherapy was. That was the other very profitable thing for me, that I saw behind this myth that if you have cancer, you're gonna die for sure soon. And even at nurse school, there was a teacher who was teaching us things like chemotherapy shortens your life and you shouldn't take chemotherapy even if you have cancer. And when I worked there, I saw that it's not true. And we saw people and participated in their lives who, according to their tumor genetic test, they've had 1 year to live or less than 1 year. And with the most modern chemotherapies, my oncologist, who I worked with, she basically she gave these people 2-3 years more life expectancy, and that was very positive experience for me. Very positive on the one hand, but also I saw a lot of suffering on the other hand, and we had young patients all the time. And I remember that day clearly when one of my colleagues who worked on the same level as I did, she was an assistant of another doctor, she approached me very friendly and kindly, and she told me that in every worker of oncology, in their lives, a time comes when they have to go to therapy in order to be able to continue their job. The reason why she told me that was I was crying after one of our patients' death. He was a 42-year-old male, a patient who technically he had gastric cancer, and he technically starved to death, and I saw that and I was deep down. We had 4 clinical psychologists at the oncology. We had 4 because not only the patients needed it, but also the workers. And I accepted my colleague's opinion, and I chose one of them, one out of these 4 psychologists, and I attended to her regularly, weekly, once a week. It took an hour every week, and the whole department knew what was happening behind, and they were all very supportive. My colleagues at the oncology, I would say they were so fantastic people because they saw all this struggle, and also they participated in it because they went through the same thing, and still they supported me. And even though I had a very antisocial personality, because they often invited me to parties and things like that, I never attended there. And I told them it was not because I hated them or I didn't appreciate them or anything, but because I had social phobia, and I don't feel comfortable with these situations at all. And still they accepted me and loved me for my work, for who I was. And I felt like this was the first place where people accepted me. I felt great, and I attended therapy every week. Nobody ever told me that we have to work instead of you in that 1 hour, and why are you doing this, and it's so bad for us. No one ever said that, and I'm very thankful for them for not saying all these things. And that is the reason, this therapy was the reason why I could work there for 3 years. If I don't attend the therapy weekly, then most probably I would not have been able to work there for 3 years, because it was so emotionally frustrating to see all those young patients die in that young age. So it's just something you cannot deal with on the long run. I don't know how others are doing it for so many years, but I felt it again that I have to move on. And I already knew burnout syndrome. I realized that it affected my life and that I was suffering from this. And I also realized and accepted my need to change my workplace inside the hospital from time to time. And accepting this helped me a lot to be able to move on with my struggles. And the first opportunity that came when I decided that and allowed myself to move on, it just came a few days after I've decided. So I felt like, oh my God, manifestation is working. And I said no to it because I felt like I wasn't ready to change my workplace, and I felt like scared, and I didn't want to jump into the same kind of situation again. So I said no. A few months passed with work, and then an opportunity came that I couldn't say no to, because it came from the fanciest place or hospital. It was from the director's department, and that was the point where I wanted to leave even the hospital itself. I had doubts if it was really my place, if I fit into it, or I have to find my place somewhere else. But this came and I couldn't say no to it, even though I felt guilty and I felt ashamed for leaving the department that accepted me and helped me and supported me and everything. I felt very bad, very honestly bad, but I've accepted the opportunity, and this is how I became a purchasing assistant responsible for purchasing very expensive medical stuff like ultrasound and stuff like that. And directors department who would not want to work for them. This fancy place, all the bright and highly qualified people work there. And I have to tell you that this was the surface only. And my colleagues were also very great people here. I still love them up to this day, and they understood me and understood my struggle. After 2 months of working for them, I instantly felt like this was not my place and it was not for me. My mental health issues came out enlarged and took the control of my life, and I immediately started to work search, but I couldn't find, I didn't have the option to go back. All they requested for was a diploma or degree in medical field, which I didn't have, and I just worked there, and I shared my struggles with my colleagues, and they all understood, and they were all very normal to me and friendly, and it's weird because from all of my workplaces I always say that I always worked with very bright people, very kind ones, very supportive ones, but that's the truth. And there was a point when I realized that the problems, my problems, were originated from the fact that I always wanted to do more and more, and I always wanted to do more complicated things, more responsibility I wanted. So I realized that this caused all my problems, that I just couldn't appreciate my present workplace. That was true in every cases when I changed, but still, if I don't change, then these burnout symptoms would grow and grow, and they would have never stopped. So I don't mind changing my places because I've learned a lot and I gained a lot of experience during these years. So altogether I've worked 1 year and 4 months as a purchasing assistant, and I started to attend nursing school when I first started to realize that I don't want to work here. So I applied to nursing school, they admitted me, and I made my first year from this workplace where technically I didn't have to do anything. So I've had free time to learn I could learn and I enjoyed it, and I attended my classes regularly. After finishing my first year with good grades, a summer came, and then I started my second year. And shortly after starting my second year, I received a call that I can go back to a healthcare system. I remember that pure joy what I felt when I signed my papers and came out of the building, that I knew I will work from the next month, and that's what I was praying for. I become an assistant nurse in the cardiovascular clinic. I clearly remember what I felt. It was just overwhelming. And I also remember my boss's face when she realized that they just made a contract with someone who never punctured a vein, never inserted a cannula, never gave an IV med. I just had the positive attitude and faith that these people there, my new colleagues, will teach me to do all these things. And if I will ask them like 100 times, then they will show it to me like 100 times. And my manifestation worked again, and it happened like this, and I was very happy. And school was very difficult with this hard job, but I was so happy to do it and so happy to have the ability to learn. Most of the doctors are brilliant, and they are fantastic and really good people. All of my colleagues were very helpful, even knowing that I came from nowhere. I didn't have the experience to do all these nursing skills. They gave it to me and they taught me how to do that, and that's a wonderful thing, and I always try to make myself remember that. And now I'm almost at the end of my last year, and I still work at the same place. And I'm not telling you that I'm gonna definitely I will definitely stay here for the rest of my life, because I'm not gonna tell you that, but I'm very hopeful that I can change on my attitude at work. If I feel like I have to move on, that I will have the strength and the courage to not to switch, but to keep working here, because I gained a lot of experience with their help, with the help of my colleagues, and I don't want them to feel disappointed. But all these workplace changes made me the person who I am today. So if I don't change from the first place, then I wouldn't be a nurse, and I would never start learning, because it's something that requires a lot of energy, and you only do it as an adult when you must do it because you don't have any other options. Like in my case, I couldn't go back to the healthcare system if I didn't do any healthcare studies. That was the case basically, and I'm very, very thankful. To avoid suffering from burnout syndrome, step out of your comfort zone and leave if you must leave. But before you do that, make sure you did all the communication that you needed, either with your boss or your co-workers, because that's what's gonna make the change, if there is any potential change. If there's no potential change, then just move on. That's what's gonna prevent mental health issues in your life. And as a healthcare worker, you worth just as much as your other colleagues, and respect yourself and respect your needs and be who you are. And that's all.